All right. Let me quickly ask the Senate spokesperson this one. Now that this judgment is in your favor, which outrightly says the Senate has the powers to appoint, to confirm appointees from the executive, we still have pending appointments confirmation, especially the one that is delaying the MPC of the Central Bank of Nigeria. What is the next step of the Senate on this one? There seems to be some sort of showdown from the perspectives of Nigerians.
Well, thank you, Sheung. Once again, let me set some records straight. The Senate is not overstretching its luck or overstretching itself. The Senate is exercising its responsibility in accordance with the Constitution. We don't believe that as senators, we are to grandstand or to try to exhibit a character or action that we try to show we are trying to exercise some power. No. We believe we have a responsibility in this government, and in governance, we are to play our role in accordance with the principles of separation of power, because we are operating a democracy. And let me say that the refusal to consider other nominees is not because of Magu. It's because of the statement credited to the acting president then, to the effect that they need not make any submission to the Senate for confirmation.
Correct.
And so, that they don't need to do that. And so we said, well, if this is what you are saying, then there is no need, we look at any submission you have brought to us. I think this was debated, and I think it was well reported because it was in plenary. And so for me, let me put one point very clear also. The point made by, the, Leonard San, I think should also be looked at very critically. If people in that category should make certain statements that make it appear as if, the Senate as an institution does not matter, then I think we are not helping this country. We've just finished talking about, the last, letters we are talking about, the altercations and so on and so forth. These are some of the reasons why we begin to get all of this back and forth. It is a very clear point. It's a constitutional democracy we're operating. And in constitutional democracy, people have responsibilities, shared responsibility. And I think these things are very clear. It has happened since 1999 up to date. People come for clearance and they are given. This same National Assembly, the Senate in particular, we've cleared the service chiefs, we've cleared the ministers, we've cleared some people, NDDC and some other appointees before we got into this. And I will say that not clearing Magu was a resounding and unanimous decision of the Senate. And I think if we want to deepen our democracy, it behoves on those who have authority to just respect the institution, because it was something we did transparently, it was broadcasted live, and it was very clear. People felt they are not satisfied with his performance, and that was why they rejected him. So if we want to make progress, we should do what is necessary. There are times we tend to make some analogy, and those analogies may not even fit our own context. Because for me, I was in the civil service. If we are to respect public service rule, nobody should act beyond 6 months. But if you check the public service today, a number of people are there acting for 2, 3 years. That has happened does not make it right. And I think if we want to make progress, little things like this, if we don't get them right, then the higher things will be very difficult for us to even achieve.
Senator,
so I don't think it is something. I'm not happy talking about this subject matter. We have better things we want to look at. Nigerians are crying. We want to really focus on that aspect of governance. And I think if we can continue to put our energy in this direction, that would be very great for everybody.
Senator, if you may clear the air about what has become a sort of a grandstanding, which, of course, a lot of people within the economic sector are saying the non-confirmation of the CBN top officials is not allowing the MPC to form a quorum in which it will sit for the MPC, which, of course, we know the implication. When will the Senate make this confirmation now that the court has affirmed your powers in this regard?
The Leonard San Leonard Sand is already insinuating that the executive can put people in acting capacity and they can act in perpetuity. So these are some of the problems that we are facing as a country. And what is right, what is wrong. When we want to develop institutions, let's develop our institutions. Today I'm a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, tomorrow I will not be. And I think what is important is that we should act responsibly in such a manner that we will leave institutions that all of us can benefit from their services. But for us to begin to think that some people don't have a right to certain responsibility, I think this is what is worrisome. There is nobody in the Senate that is irresponsible. We are all highly responsible people who have contributed our little quota in national development before we find ourselves to the Senate. And I think for people to think all of us collectively, 109, do not have sense and sensibility, I think it's taking also the matter too far. We should begin to realize that this country belongs to all of us. Every single one of us has a responsibility. And I think if we respect each other in terms of this responsibility, then we will be doing a lot more good for the polity.
Is the senator saying that you will not be confirming those appointments, those appointees from the president as regarding the CBN?
Well, the issue is there are issues on ground. We have made our points very clear. And it's, as far as I'm concerned, this subject matter is on the doorstep of the executive. And if the executive want this issue resolved, I think they can get it resolved. And I urge them to use whatever window of opportunity that we have to resolve this issue. Because Nigeria has, nobody is indispensable in this country. Right. Nobody is indispensable in this country.
Let's seek the
remain.
Okay, just a moment. Let's take the advice of a senior advocate here. It's a stalemate, isn't it? The Senate seems to have his own stand and his grievances against the executive on this matter. Where do we go from here?
Let me correct the impression created by the distinguished senator. My advice on Magu's case was not a general statement on all other posts, irrespective of situations that have not been confirmed by the Senate. I was answering your question mainly on Magu's case. Now, your question now is it the non-submission or the non-approval? The Senate is saying that there are no nominations in respect of these things for them to be able to confirm. And I agree with them. This is what we are saying about this country, that we don't have the correct leadership to lead us. Why should the executive not send to the Senate names of people who are to be confirmed to allow the work in this country to move forward? I agree with the senator. Because if the executive does not send these names, confirmations will not be made. And if confirmations are not made, as you said, NNPC now, certain names must have been sent to the Senate or should be sent to the Senate. The executive has not done that. Therefore, there's a stalemate in the board of NNPC, right, which is not for the progress of the country. This is what we are saying.
This kind of stalemate, how can it be resolved politically?
Politically, it's not even a political matter. Politics will creep in if there are personalities to be nominated and one side of the party says, no, we don't want that man in the board. Or that. That is not the issue again. The issue is that the names which ought to have been sent have not been sent. And it's not a political issue. Senate cannot do anything without the names being sent. They cannot force the executive.
All right.